You all. Well, again, we are so happy to have you all with here, and we really want to encourage you all. We would love to see your faces. Hi, Diana, thanks. That was perfect timing. I somehow get excited when that happens. I don't know. It's just too much Zoom. But you all, tonight, we want to really chat. We want to hear your voices. We are here as parents and not as experts on a topic, but as parents too, who are navigating through middle school with 2 kids and high school with 1 kid. And so tonight we want to start with asking the question, and would love to hear your voices are in the chat box. What did you do as a kid to manage stress that worked? So for example, what we are noticing, and you could raise your hand or put up a heart, is that there's a lot of young folks who are stressed right now. And it reminds us of when we were young. So when I think about what I did to relieve my stress as a young person, I played sports in high school, and it allowed me to like take my sadness, my anger, my frustration, and to keep it all the way real. Sometimes when you went on trips, they bought you the best food that maybe I didn't have. And so that's how I relieved my stress, was making sure that I could kind of like fight something or work something out through a sport. And so would love to hear, when you were a young person, what did you do to relieve stress? Diana, I saw you shaking your head earlier too. Would love to hear guys' voices. Hi. What did you do? Or did you just be stressing, not do anything?
Mhm. Well, I'll start. I certainly played music, played piano to help manage stress as a young one. And also just liked walking everywhere. I was just I'd get out and just start walking places. And I think that helped manage stress as well.
Yeah.
Let's see if my friend, I know some of my friends are here. Maybe they'll help us warm up the space.
Yeah, and I see Elizabeth. Do you want to say it out loud, my friend?
Oh, she.
Oh, hi, sorry.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, well, when I was younger, I found comfort in running. So yeah, or playing basketball.
That's great.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it still does. 30 something, years later.
See, I like how you said that, because sometimes the things we learn young help us as we get older as well. So that's great. Anyone else? What did you do? And to keep it real, we didn't really call it stress when we were kids. Like, we didn't have some of the labels our kids have now. We weren't given that. And so when you felt frustrated or tired or sad, or there was something going on at home, what did you do to release that pressure within?
How about my friend Edwin? Edwin, will you share?
Let's see, the chat box is popping. Ming said, I would talk to people. A lot of movement.
Good, yeah, you got to talk it out. How about Trent? Trent, are you available to talk right now?
I am, but as we were younger, I don't even remember, because we, as a household, we never talked about like mental health or stress or anything like that. So it was a different dynamic growing up, because we didn't talk about feelings.
Right.
And like looking at now, it's weird, but like my parents were just taught not to. And so I can't even remember what I did. Maybe just vent to my cousins. But other than that, yeah, it wasn't really anything that was normal how it is now.
Right. And you know what? Thank you so much for saying that, because if on here you didn't talk about stress, it wasn't given that label when you were growing up, can you raise your hand and put up a heart? Like, the things that we hear our kids talking about now, we're like, what? Right. And so that also shows in some ways we're parenting really in a different time and generation, and trying to understand our youngins who are identifying things that we're just learning to identify as adults, and also give ourselves permission to feel. because some of it, the way some of us were raised, may have been because you didn't have time for that. Your family's like, just pull it together, suck it up, right? There's all these kind of things that we're told, boys don't cry, or girls be strong, love your sons, raise your daughters. Like there are all these different things we were taught that didn't allow us to be able to say, I'm stressed, I'm sad, I'm depressed. I don't like what my parents are doing right now, right? Nicole, I see you clapping. Do you want to chime in, my friend?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that our family was very much like that, like buck it up. There's no time for this nonsense.
Right.
But what did you actually do as a teenager? Do you remember, Nicole, to manage that?
I have no idea. I don't remember. It wasn't a thing that we talked about, wasn't a thing that came up.
Yeah, it's different time. Yeah.
I find in working with parents right now, some of us are having a challenging time understanding how to help our kids through some things because we didn't do it for ourselves and someone didn't teach us for ourselves. And trying to teach a kid how to manage stress, depression, social media, anxiety is still very different than us as adults. And so how many of you with hearts or waves or cameras on and off are kind of sometimes hitting a wall for trying to understand how to understand and be sympathetic to your child, but still raise them, right? And they're expressing things that some of us may have not been able to express. And you're like, what do I do? This 10-year-old says they're depressed. We never talked about depression. Yeah, Karina, what do you are blowing up the chat, my friend. Can we hear your voice? Karina Gonzalez, where are you at? I can't see you.
Have a group to do homework together. Yeah.
Okay.
I also saw Monique. Monique's comment. Monique, were you like me watching Punky Brewster and Steve Urkel? Or you don't know who that is? You may be too young to know who that is.
Absolutely, Monique said.
Absolutely.
Right, and here's the thing I want to say, y'all. Even though some of those shows we thought were risky, the things our kids are watching and exposed to now is much different, right? I see those heads bobbing. And some of it, they're smarter than us on being able to push stuff away so we don't see, right? And so we wanted to do this topic tonight, one, so we could all see that we're not alone and we're all trying to figure this out. And there's many books that have been written on how to do certain things, but not on your kid or the kid you're raising today in this city, in this country. And so tonight we want to go ahead and share with you some information that we've gotten over the last week or so, but then also we want to hear your voice and even possible strategies that you use or questions you have that could be beneficial to us as a community. Because one of the things we are clear on is what affects one of our children affects the other. They all go to elementary school together, they go to middle school together, they go to high school together, and the yard and cafeteria talk is serious. It's a lot of learning going on in the moments when we are not around and the adults are not around as well. All right, Frank, go ahead. Somebody said that part. Got it.
Awesome.
Next slide.
Well, I was, just as a way of introduction, I was paying attention to some of the COVID news last week. And as they were making their weekly report on COVID, protocols and all this stuff, they dropped in this note in the middle at the same time that they were doing the COVID protocols, which was that the Surgeon General of the United States, and I'm slowing down a little bit as well to make sure we nail it, is issued a rare advisory in which the Surgeon General is concerned enough about children and youth's mental health to have issued a full report, and he's calling it a significant health challenge in our country. And so although we had something else planned for the family learning plan, as our children come home for the holidays and stay home for the holidays, it, for me personally, starts to get reminiscent of quarantine, right? and being back in that space that we were in a couple of years or a year ago or whatever it was. And so we wanted to create this space so that we could talk this over as a community. How are we going to support our kids, and how we're going to support their mental health? And are we really paying attention to our children's mental health at the level that is trying to be raised? And so with that, what I'd like to do is just open up by showing a little bit of the news report, which is a good synopsis. I'm also going to drop in a link to the Surgeon General's report. And in that report, the Surgeon General will detail out like what you can do as a family, what teachers can do, what schools can do, what community agencies can do. So a lot of work, it looks like a lot of work was done real quick, but timely to respond to this crisis. And it is a time where I am noticing amongst my friends who are parents that we all are starting to check in and work about our children's different aspects of our children's mental health. So I'll slow down there and let's put this on for a second.
Felt so much stress in one school year.
I didn't want to get out of my bed today.
Could you guys hear that? Great.
Across the country,
I don't feel very stressed.
I've never felt so much stress in one school year.
I didn't want to get out of my bed today. I really didn't.
kids under pressure, pushed by the pandemic. Today, the Surgeon General issuing a rare public health advisory, warning of a youth mental health crisis.
Our kids have been struggling for a while, and we can no longer wait to address youth mental health in our country.
According to the report, symptoms of anxiety and depression have doubled during the pandemic. More than 140,000 children in the U.S. lost a parent or grandparent caregiver to COVID. And emergency room visits for suicide attempts were up 51% for adolescent girls compared to 2019.
How important is it that kids know they're not alone and that it's okay to talk about mental health?
Struggling with your mental health does not mean that something is wrong with you, and it's not your fault. We have to normalize that. We also have to let kids know that it's okay to ask for help.
The advisory also a call to action for social media companies.
Many companies also design their platforms in ways that proactively enhance and contribute to the mental health and well-being of our children.
18-year-old Ellie Whitehouse knows the struggle after time on social media.
I think it definitely makes everyone, and especially girls, feel bad about themselves, especially when, there's such an unattainable beauty standard.
Today, Instagram announcing steps it's taking, including a stricter approach to recommendations for teens and tools for parents to monitor their kids' use of the app. The move coming one day before Instagram CEO will face questions before Congress about reports the company's own research show it's harmful to teens. The company in the hot seat as the nation's youth look for a lifeline.
There definitely can be change as long as, we continue to open the conversation.
Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
Thanks for watching YouTube channel. Follow today.
Right. So we want to just take a minute to pause and to ask you all, how does that resonate for you, or what does it bring up? I saw a lot of head shaking and would like to hear your voices because many of us deal with this privately. Emerald, you raised your hand. Is there anyone else who would like to raise their hand? I'd like to call you next as well. Thank you, Diana. So Emerald and then Diana. Go ahead, my friend.
So for me, I think we've heard this before, but never like Franklin was saying so seriously from the Surgeon General saying, pay attention. I used to work at the emergency room in Stanford Hospital, and I used to see these young kids, girls a lot come in because they were suicidal. So it's not surprising to me. It's not startling to me. I'm fortunate to where my kids are only 5 and 3. So only one just started in the school system. But these kids who had an expectation of what education looked like and for it to be thrown off, I think it's understandable that they would have this mental health shakeup. For me, I had to come to grips with it because for the longest time, I think I had that, this generation syndrome where you're like, something wrong with this generation. They all crazy. They're all depressed. But it's not that. They're dealing with a lot more stuff consistently, always. And I didn't think about the fact that they've lost people. We were very, very blessed to not have lost a single family member to COVID, not a one.
Yeah.
And so I take that and I hold on to that tight. But for those who are, I would think like a good defense against like mental health issues is for parents. I know we have a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, but take a little bit more and find a way to ground your child. Give them a foundation that they know that is unshakable. And it can't always be you. Give it something that's going to be theirs for them. And they think the phone is for them. And as the thing said, the phone is there. Essentially, it will tear them apart too. Like Instagram and all that will make you feel worse about yourself. So for me, I would think that giving your kids a good foundation of self-centered, not self-centeredness, but you know, a good home base.
Yeah.
Where
And
they can go to as a safe zone when things start getting shaky.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to, because I want to get to other folks, I want to say yes, and because there's so many folks where kids do have that, and home is just not enough anymore. And that's what we're seeing even bigger. School is important, community is important, and things like that. I want to go Diana and then Camelia, sorry. And Emerald said amen.
Hi, can you
Hi.
can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, okay. You guys weren't able to hear me earlier, so yeah, I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old just went into kindergarten, and I feel like that it's also very scary for children, especially young children, that they come into this classroom and there's a glass wall from the teacher and the child on the desk, you know, and that separation of, yeah, don't hold hands with your best friend. You know, usually younger kids would hold hands to walk on a line. There's also the whole, it can be very scary with the whole mask thing, you know, and I feel like that has affected in a way a lot of younger children in the fact that they see the world much more different. If you would imagine you're going into the world as a 5-year-old, everyone wears a mask, everyone's 6 feet apart, everyone hand sanitizer constantly, which you don't really know how that's going to affect chemically wise your DNA in your child's hands, you know. But all of that is really difficult for children.
Yeah.
And obviously they're going to get depressed. I have 2 little cousins who tried to commit suicide this last year. And they're 15 years old, both of them. So it's a lot of stuff that has been going on. And I don't think it's like a generation is wrong, but it is a lot that they're just at home playing video games. And in these video games, these chats with these video games,
come on,
these guys are predatory towards younger children, especially younger girls. And it is proven that they put them down. They say a lot of things, especially if kids are on video calls with video games. And then we have social media, which is obviously putting down children. I turned off all my social media because I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna give these people my money or give them any reason to think about, but that, you know, that's my personal choice. And I'm sorry, but I'm very passionate about these subjects. So,
and you know, it is something for us to be passionate about. And Camelia, we're coming to you because in the last 2 years, we think about it, some of our kids have lost a part of their childhood and the innocence of it because of a crisis, right? Regardless of whatever age they entered into school at this point. And then us as adults, let's raise our hand and put up hearts and stuff. How many of us have really been struggling too through the pandemic, going back to work, keeping our kids healthy? And sometimes we put our kids there to babysit, or we let it babysit us. And so we also see some of us feeling the way young people feel, but many of us are more emotionally mature to navigate through some of this. And so what you're saying, Diana, it is okay to be passionate about it, because if we stay numb and silent about it, the mental health crisis with our children, our nieces, the kids we love, is only going to grow because we are not advocating for them. And so please stay passionate, my friend. Camelia, am I saying your name right? Camila?
Yeah, it's Camila. Hi, sorry you guys, I'm coming back from karate here with the little one. So
yeah.
I was able to come right in when the video was played about the young lady saying how there's all of these images of what beauty standards are with social media and everything like that. And it resonated a lot because it's what we see and it's what our little ones see. I have a 6-year-old, and she sees me get ready in the morning. She sees her her aunt my sister get ready sometimes too. And one time she told me, she said, oh, can we buy some makeup? And I said, okay, what do we need the makeup for? She said, oh, well, the makeup makes you look pretty. And that just threw me back a lot, because I myself, as far as I go, is just eyeliner, and that's about it. Very simple. But even then it took me back, and I'm like, you're 6 years old, and where are you getting this from? The fact that you feel that you need to put this on your face to think that you're pretty, like it sparked a whole conversation in terms of what is around us, what we see in movies, what we see, on billboards and even on ads. And it ties into the whole thing with COVID and mental health in terms of when a part was said too, that during COVID, a lot of children lost a part of their childhood. And for my daughter and our family, fortunately / unfortunately, I'm a healthcare worker. So I didn't get to stay home with my kid. I had to, go to work day in and day out, working in the hospital. My daughter continued going to school with a mask and a shield, because that's the, school that she was at, attending kindergarten. But I was terrified because, number one, I didn't have anywhere else to put her. She was in the class with other children. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I was more worried about her being the child that would bring possibly COVID to the classroom. And that myself, I felt like I had to over-explain things to her in a way that I told myself, am I overdoing it as a parent, explaining too much? Or is it just enough? Or is it, am I gonna make her extra paranoid about this? Am I being extra paranoid about this? How is it that we're gonna be able to move forward and continue to keep each other safe and the people around us? And my parents being the folks who would pick her up from school, and we'd had to safety plan, like, if I were to get sick, I am gonna be in your garage, and that's where I'm gonna be living until I get better, because I have to see her every day. And I won't be able to just self-isolate like a lot of people had to do. And I think that part really did something to our mental health. And as workers, we wouldn't get really much support about it. In the beginning was, don't wear masks. You can't wear masks. You're going to scare the patients. We didn't have masks. Where are we going to get masks? Are the children going to be safe? So it was a lot of, it was hard. It was really, really hard.
Yeah, thank you.
Mila, I want to first of all say thank you so much for your service. And I could just cry because what you and your child had to sacrifice to keep us safe and to not know what was going on, I could just hear that emotion in you, and I feel that. And if no one's told you, we appreciate that.
Yes.
And, there's this concept called anticipatory grief, that we're constantly in grief because we don't know what's coming next. And I can't imagine what that was like in the circumstance you were in. And so just thank you. I think nurses and healthcare providers didn't get enough thanks, and crisis responders. And also, you just wanted to play with your kid at the park. Right. And teach her regular 5-year-old things, not emergency disaster plans. And for anyone on there, if you've experienced anything let's put up some hearts or show Camille and other folks on here who sacrificed in ways we don't understand in order to show up. And now we're all trying to figure out how to get our mind right after living in so much trauma.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And my friends, this is why we're here tonight.
Yeah.
It's because Franklin and I in our profession, and even James and some who are in mental health work, we knew that this crisis was coming. We could see it coming. But now that it's here, if we as a community could begin to look at it, one of the things the district has done is they have invested in mental health support for children and families. Here's the thing, y'all. We don't want to wait till we break down. or to our kids are on the edge of something, it may be the moment now where we get intervention support, just because we're noticing my kid isn't sleeping good at night. They're having nightmares, or maybe mommy is, or grandma can't stop crying when the kids go to school. And then for those of you who had to hold your families together, had to hold the kids together, had to hold yourself together, and now you're trying to think about your kids on social media and all this, you actually may need to be the one who needs someone to go talk to. And that is okay. It is okay. It is okay. It is okay. Emerald, I see your hand. And is there anyone else who may want to comment or respond, or just
Yeah,
say?
I would love, as we go to Emerald, I just want to invite other folks, you know, have you seen this with your own children? Are you hearing about it from other children? Are your kids talking about other kids who are saying, you know, that they're depressed or they're struggling, or even on the online platform? So just wonder if, you know, if this is resonating, not only third party, but really if it's resonating for our children. Emerald, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's good to remind other people to talk. They probably hear me talk a lot. It's just because I can't help it. I'm a chatterbox. And I always feel like I got something to say. But anyway, this is where we come to talk, people. So don't let it just be me. Anyway.
I see Kyle's got his hand up after you. So if you could.
Boom, there it is. Okay. So very quickly, I was going to say, I remember in the beginning of the pandemic when things started shutting down and they were like, oh no, kids are going to lose this and that because, you know, amusement parks are closed. The Oakland Zoo was closed. Like all these things were closed. Oh no, what are we going to do? I think me and my sister, we were like, we decided to take more accountability for what we could do in our own households. So we went to the park like every day, even when we didn't feel like it, just to get the kids out of the house. Like, okay, get your mask, go to the park, go run, you know, and we would just set them loose. We would do anything that we could think of. We when they said you could expand your social circle, we did our interventions. Okay, who's been where? Nobody's been anywhere. Nobody's been sick. Nobody's got anything. So we go come visit. Then we waited. We did all the things we could to keep their, not minds off it, but give them the outlet to not feel like nothing's going on, but kind of, because they need those regular things. They needed that regular activity that they lost.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, dear. And we still got to do that. They still need it, y'all. They still need us to pull them from away from those computers, those social media, especially going into the holidays. If your kid, and this is a non-judgmental zone, if your kid is in front of social media for 4 hours or computers, maybe we say this next week, it'll only be 2, right? And so, yes, let's still do those things. Kyle, hi, my friend.
Yep.
Hi, thank you. I want to always say this is the last one since before the holidays, but thanks to Mr. Parrish III and the Heistons for putting these on. This one seems really relevant to me. Like I feel like my kids were pretty resilient up to a certain point. Like now it's starting to get like residual. You know, like my son is starting to pick his nails a lot more than I ever saw before, and kind of like he's like real cool, like what is that called? Like today when he got out of school, you know, he was very upset, and he immediately went home. I started reading him Little Engine That Could, and he immediately conks out. You know, he's having a lot of feelings. You know what I mean? And I feel like that these are like, it's hard to like, you know, it's hard to see it when it's occurring, like during COVID. You know, like we're just all like resilient and stuff, but who knows what's going to be the after effects of this when they start to catch up with us, because I'm already kind of feeling it myself. I'm really fatigued during the day, and it just like, it's kind of like, you know, it's hard to gauge sometimes how much damage is actually caused right at this moment, but I'm starting to get worried because I'm starting to really see some changes now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really relevant stuff.
Thank you, Kyle. And you know, you bring up, there's also the PTSD to it, right? So there's a whole, and I know the district does some stuff around this work, but there's a whole residual effect that happens. And the truth is, my friends, every one of us on this call needs somebody. Every adult and every child was impacted by this. And Kyle, what you bring up is that I'm starting to see it. How many of us here kind of feel a little bit of what Kyle is saying, that I'm starting to see ... I don't even know what it is, but it's something different.
Absolutely.
Right? Raise your hand or nod your head, right? And that's why this Surgeon General warning is important, because what we're starting to see is now that we're not in super crisis anymore. Now people and our kids are opening up to feel and to change. Yeah. Melanie, I see your hand. Hi, my friend. Hi, you're muted.
I was just raising my hand to agree.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything to say now that you're here?
Yeah, I feel like with my daughter, she is 7. You know, like a lot of the times she would be like, oh, when COVID is over, can I, you know, can we do this? Can we do that? And I hate COVID, you know, stuff like that. She would say a lot of stuff like that. Which, yeah. So, it probably doesn't help that I'm very like paranoid myself. So I like, it's like I put it on her, which I feel sad about, but it's kind of, it kind of has happened for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And it's okay. You know, we put it on them because we didn't know what was happening to us as adults.
Yeah.
You know, and we also got to heal ourselves and forgive ourselves for some of the things we may have had to do to keep our families and our babies safe. You know? Oh, thank you for sharing, Melanie. Hi.
The young ones are checking in, Gingy.
This is their check-in? Okay. How are you doing? You good? Okay, good. Hi, Angela's son. I think the young ones have something to say. Anyone else, what's coming up for you before we offer you a little bit of some strategies, or, you know, Frank, and I think this is fair to say, and James, this is a longer conversation. This is something we'll all be working on throughout the years, and we'll bring stuff together to talk. And so we wanted to acknowledge it because sometimes some of us deal with stuff in silence, and we think it's only hitting our family and our children, when it actually is not. It's hitting us as a community. And so you're not alone in that as well. Franklin?
No, I was going to say a couple of things. One is, I just put a little bit more information from the report in the chat, that in this, the report from the Surgeon General also just advises, like, pay, you know, extra attention to those who are even more impacted by stress of not only the pandemic, but of the holiday season, of the times that we live in. Kids are really worried about the environment. They're really worried about the future of the earth. These are things that are now being documented, researched, and Diana must know. She's like, yep, the future of the earth, you know, and the deep divisions in our country and the violence that they're seeing in the news. And so all of that is having an impact. And we're going to talk about social media in January or February, whenever our next round. We'll talk about that for a couple of sessions, but it certainly is a part to play in it. And then the second thing I was going to say is,
Frank, I want to note before you move past that, is that there was a comment to what you were saying or what was said. iPhone, do you want to make the comment? Or it could be many iPhones, but you know who you are. Or shall I read it? You want to bring your voice into the space? Your audio voice? Okay, I can't see who you are.
I see.
All right. Well, the comment here, and I think it's important because it addresses teens, and we haven't addressed teens yet. Also, for parents of tweens and teens, ooh, those tweens, can we get a whole workshop about them? I'm just saying, it's good to just sit with our kids, even if there's nothing to say. Eventually, kids will open up and we'll talk about their feelings.
Yeah.
As parents, I think we sometimes need to remember to just be quiet so the kids can really open up and make them feel like we're here to listen. Yeah. And what we have found in raising kids is sometimes they don't want you to fix it. They don't want you to fix it because they don't believe we could fix it, like some of tweens and teens. but they just want us to listen. So, Frank.
I was actually going to just say something very similar, which is one of the things that we didn't anticipate, or maybe we did, some of us that did anticipate the impact of, was, as Trin was talking about, for some of us, I'm 45, so for some of us, we grew up at a time where you didn't talk to your parents about your emotions, right? And in many cases, there wasn't language about this. Now our children are growing up at a time where the school is intentionally teaching them to have feelings and to name all their feelings and to manage their feelings through social emotional skills. So now we have to anticipate and open up that space that it's just being talked about with Emerald and our friend on the iPhone, that to really be quiet and just say, what are your feelings? How are you experiencing this? What is it like at school? And especially with those tweens and those teens, because they now actually do have some language, and they are developing that language to describe that if we'll listen.
Yep.
But it's different than us. It's different than my generation. I should speak for mine.
Yeah. Frank, do you want to go ahead and offer the suggestions we have? Angela, I
Sure.
think we have all question marks.
That might be little guy.
Oh, okay. Hi, we see you, man. Melanie, you raised your hand, my friend.
Oh gosh, can you see me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, so my daughter came to school one day, and I guess they're doing soul shop. I think that's like an emotional something, like learning feelings and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, and so she's like, "Mom, you need this. You need like breathing techniques." like,
yes,
like
exactly.
calling me out on not being able to relax, and which is true, very true. But like, you're so right that like, yeah, like, because I'm 45 as well, and yeah, back then, like when I was her age, like I didn't have any feelings. I feel like I just had no sense of anything. Like I was just kind of like a robot, and I just did what my parents told me to, and I didn't really think for myself. But for some reason, kids are so advanced these days, and like it's just amazing to me, like how well like advanced kids are. I like more than I was ever
amazing.
Her age.
And you know, Melanie, what you bring up is we can also let our kids teach us, because they are being taught social, emotional. This whole training is for adults, or the workshops we do, or the landing with each other around social, emotional, because what we realize is some of us weren't taught what our kids are being taught.
Right.
But now it's a great moment to now let your kids teach you, to sit at the dinner table and ask them, how did they tell you how to express yourself? Did you learn a new emoji? What did they teach you about this? And the kids would love the opportunity to now share with us what they're learning, because we actually really need that now, because it's safe for them, because of parents and districts, for them to say, I am not happy today. I am sad. I need a brain break. If we had said that in school, you'd be in detention room, right? And so that Diana,
like what?
Right. Diana.
I forgot my train of thought. Sorry.
All right. So really quickly, I know we got to start to bring us into the wheelhouse. So how do we pull ourselves through? So we're going to share a couple from the Surgeon General and a couple ideas from ourselves. And you guys have all the wisdom. Like when we come together, that's one of the things that's powerful about our virtual exchange. That, you know, we started right here in the pandemic, this virtual community, is that when we pull together, that's how we pull through, right? And that's how generations before us pulled through. They bonded together. And so even if this is not the first pandemic, this is not the first, you know, societal like moment where we've had to not do it alone, but do it together. So keep coming back. That's what I want to say in 2022. So change how you talk to your family about mental health, and take away the stigma. You heard the Surgeon General say that, you know, use messaging such as, there's nothing wrong with talking about your mental health. There's you're not alone, and ask for help. Connect with school resources. I think it would be great to know who are the mental resources at your school. Is there a school social worker? Do you know your family advocate, your family liaison? And if needed, can you check in at the school to see if what you're seeing at home resonates with what might be showing up at school? And then check on your friends and family as well. Share this information and just open up conversations, especially if you come from cultures or generations like we talked about tonight, where we don't cross-talk. I mean, not only do we not talk about our family, but we certainly don't air our dirty laundry outside the family. And so in that case, sometimes that isolation is not helpful. And then finally, I mean this with all my heart, check that social media and check it again. My kids understand, Gingy and I kids understand, we own those phones. Let's be clear. Those phones belong to us.
And those computers, check the history. It's worth it.
And these there's these phantom, I can't even keep up with them, but like these phantom I think you talked about this, Diana, or someone, like it seems like it's gaming, but it's actually social media. So it's Discord and some of the other ones they're not part of my Minecraft, those ones. Also at family dinner, encouraging folks to share how they're doing, asking again what else is going on to those tweens when they give that short answer. And you have to go, how's it going to school? It's fine. What else is going on? Nothing much. Tell me more, So you can also ask what their closest friends are going to. And that might be one way for them to express what they're going through by helping to depersonalize it.
And right now, kids are so connected to what's going on with their friends. It's also a bit of a breadcrumbs to what's going on with your child. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brace. This is me and Gingy's editorial comments. Brace yourself. Remember, it's not about you in case they do want to share something. And always secure the children first. We learned that actually from Iyanla Van Zant. But when I first heard her say secure the children, it resonated with me that, a lot of times adults take care of adults. But when we hear our children express needs, we should secure the children first, and then we figure out the adults. But we don't want to put the pressure on our children to take care of us and other adults.
I like in the chat box, or I'll just ring, Melanie said, I wish the schools could include the parents into soul shop techniques so we have an idea of what the kids are learning about. Sometimes it is difficult for my 7-year-old to explain concepts at that time. And what I would give back to you all is this is also a great way to reach out to your school, to your principal, to those teachers, your advocates, and say, hey, when we were at Roosevelt with our kids, they were teaching at that point, there was something around not splash awards, but around like being kind and those things. And we said, we had a meeting with a teacher and said, can you please explain to us what these are so we can reinforce it at home? Show us. And so have a meeting with your teacher and ask them to give you the curriculum or the activities so you can work on it with your child at home as well. And then also we have in the chat box, also planning activities out, especially over the next 2 weeks. You all, this is the moment to not take such a break that we break from our kids' mental health and even ours. And so if you can go for walks and play dates, and sometimes, and I used to do this. Oh yeah, it's break. Go get on the computers for a few hours. No, not this season. And we say that because what we see happening throughout the country for our young people is something that needs to be managed a little closer by us as parents and guardians. And then guess what? If we get them off of social media, then we'll be off of our phones a little bit more, out from in front of our computers a little bit more. And that actually is helpful to the whole family. And I think we got a couple more comments. Yep. Is there, James, a quick question? Do you know if there's a Soul Shop district-wide program?
Soul Shop is not a district-wide program. It is a program that a site will contract with to provide those services to their particular site. When I was a principal, I had Soul Shop at my site, and we did provide a parent component, meaning that we would at least have a parent meeting to introduce and share, what things that would be being learned. So that's something that you can inquire with your site if it's at your site in regards to that.
Yeah, great. Thank you, James. And you can go to the principal about that. Sometimes schools have funds they could support, and also your PTA has funds that they do have to spend out by the end of the school year that they may also be able to sponsor. Sometimes PTA sponsors those programs as well. Yeah. Oh, any thoughts or comments before we go into evaluation and Raffle? Was this helpful for any of you, or what will you take away from today? Edwin, I also want to acknowledge you in the room and your comment. Yeah. Is it okay to read it out loud? And if not, I won't. Thank you so much, Edwin. And so what Edwin is sharing, I'll share. Thank you, Edwin. Edwin said, in 2005, I lost my brother to mental health. Back then, I couldn't understand why someone would take their life over depression. None of us in the family saw any signs of anything being wrong with my little brother till we lost him. Edwin, I am so sorry for your loss. And Franklin and I have experienced a loss as well like that. And this is why this is important, is because now we have a platform where we can talk about it and we can see people even if they don't want to be seen. And for Edwin and anyone else, Franklin, can you put up the slide, please? The resource slides for the school. Before we get into surveys, we want to share with you all again, and I want to say James is a big advocate for this and leading. If you want to chime in, James, there are services for the district that are free. They are confidential with the exception of if there's harm to someone, immediate harm. And these are services that the district has invested in for us as parents and guardians, student support services, family resource services, Native American Health Center. I love them because they also have therapists of color with different cultural backgrounds. San Leandro USD Health and Wellness. We've been there a few times with one of our kids for different services. And if they can't support you, they'll send you somewhere. And then Cara Solis, you can look them up online and they will help match you as well as support you. And then there's the youth crisis line. Now, this is a line where your youth can call, or you can call on behalf of your youth if you need to find the service for that child or a child you know. And then the next slide, really important, if you want to take a picture of this, at every school site, there is a parent liaison that is part of James' team. They are accessible, and I have not met one yet that's not willing to go over and beyond for my child. Absolutely. And we're at 3 schools, well, 4 schools total we were at. And so please take a picture and know who this person is at your school. Don't be afraid to ask any question. This person is going to help you through that as well. James, did I miss anything in regards to all that?
I think you covered it well.
Okay. Thank you. Great, great. And what we want to do now is we come into the home stretch. And Emerald, I saw your hand, but I want to start these 2 things and then we can talk. One, we would love for you all, Franklin is dropping in the chat box, to do the evaluation that we're going to talk, put in the chat box. You can do it on your iPhone or whatever, even if you can't see us. This is super helpful because it helps us gauge what's work, if it's supportive or what else we can do. And we really love to hear your feedback and comments because it matters. This is a community platform. And so please fill that out. If you need help when we get off the line, we'll help you, but we thank you so much. And then Franklin is going to go ahead and take us into the raffle. Woo! Woohoo! I just get excited giving stuff away. It feels so good. Tonight, we're giving away 4 raffles. Is that right, Frank?
That's right. It's in the chat. Nelly, Camila, TT Lyle's iPhone, and Kia, congratulations. Woo-hoo! Thank you so very much.
And the instructions for them are?
To private chat me your real name, your phone number, and your email address. And we'll email you a gift card. And of course, not of course, we've learned that the email address you